batten down the ass hatches. You can almost feel Nintendo going and preparing their mighty fist-fucking prosecuting gauntlet of doom for the wake of the Wii U emulator that was just developed based off of Nintendo architecture and hardware. I have to say, this is actually record-breaking time. The Wii U's, what, about 3 years old? And there's already a functioning emulator available on the interwebs for it right now. This kind of caught me off guard, because most of the time, you don't see an emulator until at least the system is, like, dying out completely, or the next wave of hardware, next gen, has started thereafter. But this shit's happening right the fuck now. Now, granted, this is very early on in the existence of the emulator, which is Cemu, whatever the fuck you want to call it, which I think ought to be titled Project Cafe. That makes a lot of sense. Nobody could really argue with that. I mean, the last one was called Dolphin, so why the fuck not? So, yeah, Project Cafe totally should be a title of this. But moving on from namesake, we're talking about something that's very, very early. So, for example, there's no audio whatsoever. So even if you get one of the WUD files, yes, they're called WUD files, you know, Wii U data files, ha ha ha. I mean, the WUD files for the last ones, you know, on the Wii, it kind of makes sense. So look, a correlation between the two. But if you get any of the files up and running, which people have confirmed they've been able to get NES Remix and New Super Mario Bros. U to function on there, you have no audio at all. You can't really fuck with any of your controllers. You're pretty much going to be relegated to the keyboard, and that's about it. You're not going to be able to use your GPU to get some kind of crazy fucking resolution that you weren't capable of getting on the Nintendo Wii U, so you were stuck with 1920 by 1080, so just stick with that. That's essentially it. And again, tons of games aren't going to work, so you probably have 95% of the entire Wii U catalog that isn't going to function for now. Anybody who's anybody knows shit about emulation knows that this takes a long time. And I don't think this is something that's going to cut into Wii U sales and, oh man, gloom and doom, things go boom and Dexter's love, boom. I don't think this is something that Nintendo's even going to have to worry about, based purely off of history. These sorts of things take years, despite how many people around the world and on the internet are working on them all at the same time. These sorts of things take such a long ass duration to be fulfilled. That's the truth. Anybody who knows about some of the best emulators out there, whether it's Dolphin or it's Kega or EPSXE or any number of emulators out there, knows that it took the efforts and of fucking billions of motherfuckers around the internet who were to send her coding and fucking with things all the time. So, since it's so early on, I can imagine we'll be at least a couple years into the NX before this is 100% good to go, or at least like 80%. Now, with emulation of this sort, it makes me kind of curious how they'd go about it. I mean, with the Wii, I was also curious, but, you know, you can get the actual nunchuck controller and the Wii Magic fucking wand remote to go and hook up via Bluetooth. Just get a Bluetooth dongle and you plug it right into your PC, and you're gravy. You are absolutely fine. You can even get the little sensor bar. Again, you can get one that hooks up via USB. So with this, I figured that they'd probably have to go with the whole Bluetooth route of things. I'm not sure if they're able to go and get the video to go from there into the actual Wii remote, the Wii U tablet controller. Man, getting tongue-tied here. That's the only thing I'm not sure how they'd have to go and get around. Not sure if there's some kind of fancy way that they can go and fuck with something like that, but if you're trying to say, for example, mess with something such as I don't know, Super Mario Maker, which you absolutely 100% are going to need the tablet. It's going to be pretty tough to go and figure out. Now, some people would probably argue, what if you did it similar to how the Nintendo DS and 3DS emulators are, where it's screen on screen? Then you just use mouse pointer and you fuck with that. That is a possibility, but the idea of having to go and cut it completely in half just to make certain things work would be a pain in the ass, truth be told. So there has to be some kind of way around that. I'm sure there's plenty of brain wizards out there who'll be like, I'm gonna work my fucking magic and make that shit into a reality. But regardless, the fact that we have one up and running is pretty impressive. Whether or not Nintendo's going to begin cracking down on this and feels that it's a threat that's going to impose on their sales, ultimately, that remains to be seen. Nintendo has been notorious about doing things like that because they're very protective of all of their properties. So it wouldn't be too shocking, but with shit like this, with emulation, it's already out there on the internet, and I guarantee you that thousands, tens of thousands of people have already gotten their hands on it to begin with. And regardless of what everybody thinks about emulation, whether you think it is the fucking, like, devil's work, because it's taking away from the hard work and the labor of all the people out there, from the publishers, the developers, all the franchises that you love to death. Or some people consider this to be a good way to allow these games to live on for years and years and years, considering that getting a hold of physical games after a while is pretty fucking tough to do. So that's an argument and debate for a completely other day. I just wanted to go and talk about the fact that it exists, it is happening, and to be honest, it's not all that shocking because these motherfuckers work pretty damn quick. I just didn't think it'd be happening this quick. So, either way, this is AlphaOmegaSin, as always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers game the fuck on!